How you doing, guys? Welcome back. It's LSP. It's currently the 10th of May 2022. What I'm going to try and do is morning videos and evening videos. I don't know if this is something that I'm going to be able to maintain, but I want to start talking about the broader market a little bit more, going into a little bit more detail, and just giving my experience in terms of both inside and outside the cryptocurrency space, some of the things that I'm looking at, some of the things that I do, in an effort to continue the education, put more content out there. And we'll kind of see how it goes. So obviously, with everything that's happening with UST, which is absolutely insane, if we just scroll down a little bit, we can see. And to be fair, I can show you on the chart as well. I mean, it's pretty insane. I mean, that's a nasty drop for a stable coin, obviously, and this is causing or has caused quite a lot of volatility in terms of the general market as well. But what I find quite interesting is, with Terra using, I believe the amount was 2.2 billion, of their reserves, Bitcoin reserves, to throw back into UST, kind of prop it up, get it back to one-to-one peg, which I believe is going to happen. I don't think, the UST is basically just going to disappear, or it's just going to depeg completely. I think, depending on which line of thinking you go down, there's an argument to be made that this may very well be a stress test, that it was deliberate, that it happened, by design. There's also the school of thought that is, shit happens, which is fine, obviously, but ultimately, when you're looking at something so aggressive and so sharp, and something that is, integrated into quite a lot of things, throughout the cryptocurrency market, and actually outside the cryptocurrency market as well, in terms of stablecoin. It begs the question, if Terra or Terra's UST was to basically depeg completely, what a catastrophe that would be, for the entire cryptocurrency market. And again, that would reverberate outside cryptocurrency and start to affect the broader market, and traditional markets as well. So, so far so good. Obviously, there's a lot of people that have taken advantage of this, in terms of grabbing it somewhere down here or on the way back up as well. Really good sort of arbitrage opportunity. There will be whales that would have made an absolute fortune on this. Absolutely. Again, it's just another transfer of wealth as far as I'm concerned. And I think it was a very good test, for UST. Obviously, we're currently sitting around about sort of 91. That's fine. I do believe that we will end up back at, one-to-one at some point. But we have to be careful, at the end of the day, when we're looking at things like this, it doesn't matter whether we, whatever your thinking is. Like, so for me, for example, I believe that this was deliberate, right? But that's just the way that I think. I'm a contrarian. I like to kind of look at things in slightly different ways. I'm sure I'm not the only person that thinks that, but regardless, that's an opinion. I have an opinion about what happened with UST, but it doesn't change the fact that we have to be very careful, because if this can happen to a stable coin, then it can happen again to a stable coin. And if it can happen again to a stable coin, it means it can happen again to UST, even in the next 10 minutes, an hour, days, weeks, who knows, right? So we've got to be very, very cautious and careful not to allow our thinking or our subjective ideas to get in the way of objective analysis. The reality is it took a dive. It's currently sitting around about sort of 90 to 91. And I believe it's going to go back to $1, because UST is integral to a lot of things that happen in the cryptocurrency market. It is widespread, and it's very unlikely that they're going to let this go under. The other thing is, which is quite interesting, with the money that's being kind of thrown around, you would expect that to be a little bit more of a drop on Bitcoin. I believe the low was 29,000 something. Yeah, 29,731, depending on what feed you're looking at, which is cool. We hit that below 30, which is, levels that we were expecting. But having said that, I thought there was going to be a little bit more acceleration. There was a daily pull down here. That price just went straight through. I've taken that off the chart for now. But ultimately, I was expecting just a little bit more acceleration to go towards that 28,000, just to kind of scoop up these lows and then get a little bit of a response. There was almost, I'll call it mini capitulation. You see that acceleration as it goes into that liquidity pool. The speed in which price is moving into and out of these liquidity pools is very important. It's something we're always mindful of. So in terms of broader market, the movement going down into, this level started to accelerate around about the 5th of May. So we get that first initial drop, slow bleed, and then it really starts to accelerate as it goes through and absorbs the entire liquidity pool, which is fantastic, because the quicker that it does this, right, the more response we get on the way back up. If this was a bleed, grind, we'd probably be down around about sort of 28,000, 27,000, because it's less likely that buying pressure is going to step back into the market. So far so good. There are, a lot of people now that are eyeing up Bitcoin that believe that this is a fantastic price, great value, so on and so forth. So I'm hoping that, people are going to start to step in. The sentiment changes ever so slightly, and we start to get a little bit of an uplift. Personally, though, I'm not doing anything until I see something of, something that I can be confident in to say, yeah, I'm happy, and that would be, back up in the 40,000s. Seems like a long way away, but it really isn't. If price gets back above this and it neutralizes this last portion going into the liquidity pool, it gives us a better indication that we could, start to grind towards this one, and then you've got that stability point again, instead of just this kind of, we're hanging on, a cliff's edge, which is currently what's happening. We're literally down here. Many people will say this is support. It's major support. We're likely, to get a response from here. But let's look at it a slightly different way. We've been here before, right? Quite a few times. It's not just it came down once. This is the second time it's come down here. It's spent time here before, many times. And every time it gets here, it's eating through whatever's there. If there's orders there, it's eating through those. If there's liquidity there, it's eating through that. So the longer it stays down here, the worse it gets. Without any response, without any sentiment change, without any shift in momentum, the longer it stays here, the easier it is, to absorb all of that liquidity, grind through those orders, and then ultimately fall off the cliff, fall out of bed, and start to drive towards that 20,000 level down here, which nobody wants. None of us want this, right? We just want things to settle a little bit, start to grind a little bit to the upside. And I would be happy for the next couple of months if price does this, and just stays between these two fractals, right? The upper level and the lower level between sort of 36,000 and around about 44 to 46,000. That would be brilliant, because then it's going to give time for things to kind of unfold, and then slowly over the remainder of the year, we can start to think about kind of grinding higher. So that's kind of Bitcoin. That's the broader market. Obviously, this I found very interesting. Binance halts Terra Luna's and UST withdrawals after a brutal crash. There's an argument to be made that if they didn't do this, that price would continue to go lower, and that UST would have fallen out of bed completely, and so on and so forth. I don't feel that any broker, or exchange or whatever you want, it doesn't matter what we call them, right? I don't believe anybody should have the ability to be able to stop you from trading. Robinhood did this with GameStop and a few others, and obviously we see today, in the headlines that Binance also halted trading, or at least withdrawals in this case, to stop people taking their money out of UST. Now, the other argument can be made that had they not have done this, it may have caused, or at least it may have allowed things to get, a lot worse. So who knows? I don't agree with it. That's just my opinion. I think everybody should have the ability to be able to get out of a position if they want to. But again, it is what it is, right? And then obviously just more headlines. I mean, there's plenty of news going on about this. This is something that is going to be an ongoing thing now. And it's going to be a very important stress test, to see whether or not a stable coin can hold up against something like this. But it also illustrates a very important point, because we need to be able to back the things that we're doing. There has to be reserves. There has to be money available to mitigate these problems when they occur, regardless of whatever these reasons are, regardless of whatever causes these problems. The reality is, if Luna didn't have Bitcoin reserves to basically get out of this mess, or at least start to shift some of those reserves into UST, this could have been a lot worse, right? So it's a good vetting practice when you're looking into anything. Cash flow, reserves, basic economics, basic math, basic company practices, in terms of the way that they handle their money, the way that they handle their businesses in terms of cash flow. It's something that I think is an integral part, of any business or any project, but also something that I think everybody should have a good grasp of, even if it's a basic understanding of how money flows, and how to quickly see whether whatever it is that you're looking at has, a strong cash flow, and strong reserves, right? So let's go back to, and I know I'm bouncing around a little bit. These will become much more refined, but let's just go to Binance. Liquidity gone, that's finished. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this off the chart, right? Pretty decent response. Obviously, we came again below 300, 288. That was a pretty low number in terms of what we initially expected to happen the first time on that drop just there, when we hit that sort of 325, 323 level. And then it's just continued to go. This was that lower level liquidity pool, which is on a lower time frame. It's still in play. It doesn't mean that price will get down there, but again, the same applies with Binance as it does to Bitcoin. The upper range is between sort of, I'd say 380 to around about 440. It was a really nice sweet spot for Binance to stay in now if it happens, just to kind of let the market do whatever it needs to do, heading towards those summer months, and then we should start to get a little bit of uplift, which would be great, right? But again, patience. We're just sitting and chilling, So for those that aren't already in the Discord server, the LSPTV Discord server, the link's in the description below. It's going to start getting really active in there. I would recommend, and I'm promoting, the Discord, so to speak. Head over there. There's a lot going on in there. There's always, great discussions. We're always talking about a lot of different things. And obviously I'm pretty much on there all the time. So, you have access to me, and I'm there to answer questions and go through a bunch of stuff as well. And we do have a laugh in there as well. So Discord, links in the description. I hope to see everybody over there. With that said, that's a general market overview, and I'll do another one later in the day. I look forward to speaking to you then. Take care, guys. Speak to you soon.